Is your brokerage not where you want it to be because you're trying to do it all yourself? That's what we're going to talk about today on Brokerpreneur Podcast. Running a brokerage is hard work, so whether you're focused on building your own sales pipeline, hiring the best agents, leveling up your team's production, or protecting culture you've built, you're in the right place. Real estate brings the challenges, and we share the solution. Welcome to the show dedicated to broker entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Brokerpreneur Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Brokerpreneur Podcast. I'm Dr. Ben Spears, the Doctor of Flow. I am here as usual with the big guy, Matt Vi. What's up, Matt?
Just living the dream, baby. Living the dream. What's up with you?
Yeah, not much, man. I mentioned it on the last podcast, and I also mentioned it to you a couple days ago. But guys, I've got these pullovers at Target, and I'm just in love with them. It's like I'm wearing pajamas. It's like I'm wearing pajamas to work. Matt's like, go to Costco, you can get better stuff. And I'm like, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Target's a mile from my house.
Costco's the best place ever.
Yeah, Costco is absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Matt, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so what we're going to discuss, what we're really going to lean into, or what we really need to talk about is making sure that you know how and what to delegate whenever it comes to your recruiting efforts. Okay. Because you can recruit the wrong way. That means you can delegate the wrong way. So today we're going to dig into a little bit of how to do it in a way that doesn't put you in a bad situation.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Guys, before we do that, just make sure you go down to the links in the description. Brokerpreneur Not So Secret Society is this Friday, as well as every Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It is a free mastermind that we do with brokers and podcast listeners from across the country. And all we do is talk about how to grow your brokerages with recruiting and retention and agent productivity. We would love to see you there. But to get the Zoom link and all the invites and all the goodies that come along with it, you got to click that link and register. So, Matt.
Yep.
Everybody's got goals,
mm-hmm.
right? Everybody starts the year and they're like, or even starts their brokerage.
Right.
They say, this is where I want to get. And we've heard any goal from, I just want 20 agents. I just want 30 agents.
Right.
We've heard people start and they've got 0 agents and they're like, I want to get to 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to hire 500 this year. That kind of
right.
thing. Well, I think the toughest thing when it comes to, which we love big goals. You
right.
know that.
Right.
The toughest thing when it comes to that is they start doing these things and make all these lists of things that need to get done for that to actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just they start trying to plow through it. And as they start checking things off the list, other things start
mm-hmm.
falling off the table. And it's like, man, the things
right.
are just piling up. And they want to. I truly believe that every broker wants to say, hey, take this. And
I don't.
Huh?
I don't.
Yeah, I do because I'm like I feel like
you're an optimist about that. I get that.
Yeah, I'm an optimist about it. I feel like they want to give it to someone, but they don't trust that will get it done. The reason I say that is yes, I'm an optimist about it, but I'm very similar in a sense of there's a lot of things. I'm an only child. There's a lot of things in my whole life that I'm like, no, like I'm gonna do this, or I have to do this alone,
mm-hmm.
And I don't want to give this to somebody else because they're gonna screw it up. There's a few people that I've worked with in my life that I'm like, yeah, like I can trust that person. They're going to get that done, and I love it. I love those people for that reason. But I just feel like there's this aspect of.
I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Before we get, and I don't want to sidetrack you, but you just said something that's really important.
Okay.
The person that you say, and whoever that is, mm-hmm. the person that you say that you trust, mm-hmm. do they do it exactly the way that you want it done?
Or die. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
No, they never do. No, they never
right.
do. They never do.
Right. And it's not like, oh, well, they just kind of got by with it and they did it half-ass and I'm okay with it being half-ass. No, that's not what.
Yeah.
Right.
They usually do it better than I would have because the things that I'm asking them to do match their skill set and
there you go.
And their personality.
Well, there you go. All right. So finish saying what you were saying.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, how does someone even get to a point, which we talk about personalities a lot. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Right.
How does a broker get to a point where they just feel comfortable. Yes, I can delegate this. If what's that saying we read that sometime or heard that where the person said, if someone can do it, I think it's 70%. It may be 80, but I don't want to say it was 70. 70% as well as 70%. You can do it. Then that should be given to that person.
Absolutely.
70% scary.
Yeah, well, 30% scary. Yeah. The 70%,
70% is like, okay, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, whatever.
30% is scary. That's like, man, they did it a third wrong.
Right.
So talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. So there's a lot to discuss with this. Okay.
Yes.
And I don't want to get sidetracked. I want to stay on a path that in the amount of time that we've got set aside for this, there's actionable things that a broker can take away.
Yeah.
Okay. So here is the biggest thing that I think you need to take a look at. If you're afraid to delegate, if you're scared to delegate to other people, this is the main reason why you're scared to delegate to other people. Your process is not laid out clear enough so that you can truly gauge how well somebody does it.
Yeah.
So you're handing something off to somebody and you know exactly how you want to get it done. But you're handing it off to somebody and you're handing it off incomplete. And if you're handing it off incomplete and it's not thoroughly done the way that it's supposed to, man, it's really hard for them to achieve it at a level that you would find acceptable. Mm-hmm. So number one is get it all written down. Make sure it's super crystal clear. The thing I love, we're on a mastermind, and one of our brokers brought this up, and this is fantastic. He uses Loom, okay? Yep. And what he said is, anytime that I've got a task that I want somebody else to do, what I do is I do it in Loom. Even if it's just explaining it, even if it's just talking about it, he does it in Loom. If he's using his computer screen, he does it in Loom. However he does it in a way so that it allows him to just do it and answer questions as he goes. That way he can share it with somebody and somebody can go back and look at it over and over and over if they need to. That is a great way of describing exactly what needs to get done. If you're not that clear, if you're not that thorough, that's part of the reason why things aren't being accomplished the way that you want them to get done. So having that laid out clearly to begin with is, man, a huge step. If you want to delegate transaction coordination, or if you want to delegate handwritten notes being sent out to past customers and clients, or if you want to delegate whatever it is, there has to be a process to that.
Yeah.
You can't go just hire somebody that's a good admin for somebody else.
Yep.
and did a great job for somebody else and bring them in and they say, oh yeah, I wrote notes for Betty Sue, and you're like, oh, fantastic, I need notes written. Here's the people, go write the notes for all of these people. And then you're like, what do you mean you didn't separate Billy Bob and Betty Sue's name? What do you mean you put their last name, the wrong last name on the card and all that kind of stuff? You just can't do that.
Yeah.
That's not their fault that it wasn't done that way. You have to lay your process out that much. I know what a lot of brokers are thinking right now. Right now, a lot of brokers are listening to this and they're thinking to themselves, I don't have time to slow down and lay it out that way to be able to delegate it to somebody else. Well, then you don't have time for it to be done correctly by somebody else, and you're not going to scale. That is absolutely the truth of it. If you want to scale, you need to slow down, write your process out exactly how it needs to be done so that you can hand it off to someone that has not as much understanding of the situation as you do, but has the time to do it the way that it needs to be done based on what you laid out for them. That's how you're going to make sure that the first step in making sure you're going to delegate effectively. That's also how you're going to make sure you have time for recruiting. Yeah,
you're exactly right. And I want to add one thing, because you mentioned this yesterday when we were doing our agent-facing podcast, the one we do for our clients, their agents. There are wonderful tools out there that are at your disposal to help you write these types of things. We were specifically talking about job descriptions, right? Of course.
Yeah, you can say it. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything.
Oh no, I'm not going to say it because I want them to feel like, oh man, like I wish I was there. I'm just joking.
No. I mean, you were saying Chat GPT. We were talking about writing a job description.
I'm leading you. I'm leading you into the answer. I'm like,
you don't need to lead me in the answer.
I'm Dr. Ben. I'm dumb. I'm like, that's why I try and play, guys. I try and pretend like I'm Dr. Ben. I'm dumb.
Sometimes he's pretending, and sometimes
yeah, exactly. Sometimes he's legit. But yeah, just leading you kind of the direction. Yes, Chat GPT, Sonic, all these different AI platforms.
Yep.
They're great ways for you to say, okay, this is what I want to have done. This is how I want to explain it to this person. At least give me a framework that I can start with. And And I think we're still at a point where not enough brokers are utilizing that technology. And I think if they would just use it once, I know it's forcing me to go in there every single day. Anytime I'm like, man, I'm thinking about this, or I'm thinking about that. I'm already thinking about going there for that time blocking mastermind we talked about last episode. Yep. But I think if everybody would use these resources, understanding that, yes, we're trying to create something that we can give maybe another human to help us and delegate those tasks. Whereas at the same time, there's some technology that we can delegate some of that work to as well.
Absolutely,
that leads on down the road.
Yeah. So let me dig in a little bit to what you were specifically to what you were saying, to kind of unveil that or answer the question that you were so guardedly and shroudedly asking.
Yeah.
So what we were talking about was creating the job description for certain things to be done, and so what we talked about was, if you lay out all the things that you need to be done, and then you go to ChatGPT and you say, write out a job description for this, and what type of personality using this type of personality code would be the best fit for this job description, that's going to have all of that set up that it makes it easy for you to make sure you're finding the right person to do that right job. So, and whenever I say that, so let's say that you have 5 or 6 things that need to be done, that you need to delegate. Okay. One of them is getting everybody's complete contact information in the CRM. One of them is making sure that the CMAs are being done by somebody other than you. Let's say that you wanted that done. One of them is this, and one of them is that, and one of them is the other. Find a good prompt or create a good prompt for ChatGPT. Go in there and say, create a job description, or create a way that I can delegate this as a real estate team leader to my assistant. What personality would it take for this person? Your task is to outline this job to be done with these things to be handled the way that they're supposed to be handled, and hit enter. And it's going to kick out this description and this personality and everything of what to look for. So you do that with 3 or 4 things that you need delegated. Then you go back and look at those and you try to match the ones that have similar personalities. Yeah. Once you match the ones that have those similar personalities, now you can go hire somebody to that. But what ends up happening is, I need this done and this and this and this done. And that's 4 completely different personalities. And what do you try to do? You try to bundle it all up into one person, and that person's trying to get hired, and they're like, yeah, I can do that. Yes, I've done that before. Ooh, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
That's my favorite. Some of that they're telling the truth on. Some of that they're full of crap trying to get the job.
Yeah.
And so now you have all that information, and you have who would be a good fit for that. And you say, okay, these 2 personalities for these 2 tasks are really similar. These 3 are not. But Betty Sue, who I've already got, might be able to help me out with this one because that is her personality. Yeah. And then if I hire a virtual assistant for these 2 things, then maybe that's what, right? And so now all of a sudden you're delegating in a way that allows you to succeed. You're delegating in a way that based on the job and the personality of the people that you want to fit it, those things are going to match. And what's going to happen is they're going to get from that 70% that we were just talking about to that 100% quicker than you if your personality was not a good fit for it. That's how sometimes whenever you meet some team leaders or some brokers and they say, oh yeah, I've got so-and-so, man, she is just absolutely the best person for whatever it is. A lot of times they got lucky and found the right person, and that person happens to be in the role that is doing the things that are delegated to them, that their personality just fits incredibly well, exceedingly well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll take this, which, most people kind of know this, but I'm going to give Jamie J credit for this. He's the owner of Bottleneck Distance Assistance. When you give someone, when you find that person, like, I'm going to delegate these tasks to that person, you don't need to go and be like, okay, click this button, hit enter, and move your cursor over here, and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. They'll have the basic framework, and they'll go do it. But then you can have that person
absolutely
say, I want you to document each step of the process that you're using. And of course, because you're doing such a great job, you don't want to document a bad process.
Right.
But again, that's just something, another tool in your toolbox when, maybe that person does do an amazing job and you never get rid of that person, or that person never leaves, but you get so busy that you need another person to do it.
Right.
Of course, you can have that person manage the other person or whatever, but if they have that documentation there, just know that, gosh, systems and processes are like your best friend when it comes to scaling.
Absolutely.
And so, go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to go from that to that next level, what you were just saying, Jamie J with Bottleneck Distant Assistance, I mean, they have got it absolutely figured out.
Dialed.
So what they do is they leapfrog to like step 4 or 5 on your delegation. Right.
Yep.
So as soon as you connect with them, what they do is they say, okay, what processes need to be done? And then they have someone, their first step is to document those processes the way that they need to. And the cool thing is, if the person that you have doesn't fit, they've got somebody else to back them up. That is a good match for that.
Yeah.
That is such an incredible way to delegate. He absolutely has it all figured out. That's how a broker should delegate, period. But if you're not sure what that first step is, man, you should just talk to them because they absolutely positively have it all figured out.
Yep.
And it's just an incredible way of making sure that you get the things done that you need. And if you have to put somebody else in that role, they know exactly what to do because it's thoroughly lined out. That is the best way to delegate.
Yep. And so I got one more point that I want you to talk about.
Yep.
And I'm going to call it culture versus dictator.
Okay.
Because sometimes you can be like, do this, do that. And you find all these people who really are like helping you. And you feel like a huge relief because they are helping you. But it can come across sometimes like you're just, okay, now do these tasks. Okay, you're done with that task, now do this task. How does someone have this team that they're delegating things to, but still keep the culture in a way of, gosh, I'm not seeing you as just someone who's doing my tasks. You want to show that gratitude. You want to show
absolutely.
show those things.
Yeah.
But what's the right way to do it? And don't even worry about the wrong. You can talk about the wrong way if you want to, but what's the right way to do that?
Yeah, if you want to delegate the right way, here's what you have to keep in mind, and this is the perfect framework for it. You have to hire, train, and leverage. And that has to be consistent. That never stops. Just remember, you hiring someone and getting them in place and you delegating to them the way that they need to delegate to is not a destination. It is a journey that continues. So when you're constantly hiring people, and what that means is if the person's not in the right role, if they're not the right person, if they weren't who they said they were, you got to hire somebody else. There has to be a process. You have to be improving your job description because hopefully when you make that hire, you can never go back. This is the biggest thing we talked about. This is the biggest thing that we talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
When you make that hire, you can't go back to the way things were. This is a mistake a lot of people make. They say, okay, I'm right here in my business. If I hire somebody, I can hand off some of this stuff and I can stay right here in my business. No, that when you bring that person in, your business fundamentally changed. As soon as you start to delegate, it gives you capacity and it gives you scale. Understand that. If you don't want to grow, you don't need to be hiring someone.
Yeah.
All you're doing is taking on headache and hassle for something that is going to force you into a position you don't want to be in. So you have to make sure that you're ready to grow. So that means you're always in a hiring process, which means if you hire the right way and if you delegate the right way, you're going to continue expanding, which means you need to be looking for that next hire. That's number one.
Yep.
Number two is learning. So on a regular basis, you need to be learning with your staff. Okay. So this is where I would start. If you're not sure where to start with their training, when they come on board, if you're not great at your CRM, then you and your hire need to sit down every other week, monthly, something like that, weekly, if you really don't know what you're doing, and you need to sit down for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and you need to go over your CRM to make sure you're leveraging it. You hear us talk about it all the time. Leverage your CRM, whatever it is, to 60% capacity, and your commission income will double, right? We talk about that all the time. Yeah. So always learning, whether it's CRM or something else. And then the third thing is leverage. If you're going to delegate, you're constantly looking for that leverage point. And what I mean by that leverage point is you and that person, 1 and 1 should equal 3. 1 and 1 should not equal 2. 1 and 1 should not equal 1.5. In my opinion, 1 and 1 should not even equal 2.275. Right. 1 and 1 should equal 3 or it's not worth doing. So make sure when you're bringing someone on that you're hiring the right person, which means you're going to grow, which means your capacity expands, which means you always need to be in a hiring loop. 2, you're always learning, them and you. And then 3, you're making sure that you're leveraging. If you do that, I promise your delegation is gonna become easier, and your business, your volume, your recruiting, your per person productivity, your retention, all of that is going to continue to expand. You're going to be able to have the lifestyle you want because you're earning the money you deserve.
Yep, I like the sound of that, guys. You know what else I like the sound of?
What's that, Ben?
I like the sound of everybody coming and seeing us and meeting us in person now in Brokerpreneur Not So Secret Society this Friday or next Friday. remember the way that you do that. Let's go down and click the link, register, and Matt, we do that as well as everything that we do for one reason, and one reason alone. Tell them what that is.
Man, we just want to be part of your win.